Hey, how's it going? Brad with Guernsey Consulting. Going to jump on here for a few minutes. We're going to cover some helpful tips related to receivables. So I got a few slides I'm going to kind of go through and just touch on for a few minutes, and hopefully this will help you out if you're a small business owner and you handle your own receivables management or collections. These are going to be some things that will help you be able to collect that cash on time and make sure that you are extending the right credit to your clients and customers. So the first thing we want to look at is invoicing. I actually just covered this in a video the other day where we talk about prompt invoicing. You want to make sure that you're getting invoices out the door as quickly as possible. Don't hold invoicing and batch invoice at the end of a week or a month. You're going to run into issues where you don't have a steady cash flow at that point because you're going to rely on everything to be hitting and coming due at the same time. And you might run into issues where you held the invoice too long to a customer and they needed the invoice sooner or they reject it and you have issues. It's best just to get the invoices out the door as quickly as possible. Make sure though that you're including the right information on those invoices at the time of invoicing. Don't try to rush through it, but quickly and efficiently get those out to your customers. Clear payment policies. So this is a huge one. You need to make sure your customers understand what their terms and conditions are with you. It shouldn't be a surprise if you invoice a customer and let's say your standard terms are net 30 days and they get the invoice and they say, well, hold up, our terms should be net 60. There's already a miscommunication there that should have been covered before the customer was actually established in your system or an agreement was signed to. Make sure you're covering those things and they understand that there could be potential charges or a hold on their account if they do not follow those terms and conditions. Credit checks. We've done a couple videos on this one as well. So you need to be vetting your customers before you extend them credit. You don't just want to give someone you don't know who they are, they place a huge order and you start producing and let's say you're in the hole $100,000 and come to find out this company, they can't foot the bill. And then you're stuck with either this inventory or you're stuck with this on your receivables books for well beyond the terms that you extended them to. You don't want to run into a situation where you are waiting for them to be paid so they will pay you. Those are the types of situations you want to avoid. And if you have customers that are reaching out to you saying, I can pay you when I'm paid, you need to evaluate that relationship and you also need to evaluate that credit being extended to them. That could be a potential cash flow risk, like a cash risk to your business if they don't have the free cash to pay for the services you're providing. Follow-ups. So this is another big one too. If you are the only person that's managing receivables, you need to make sure you set some time aside each week or get it on the schedule somehow to where you are reaching out and talking to customers as timely as possible and ahead of when things are due. Make sure you're not waiting until an invoice is already past due before you send them any sort of statement asking if they have the invoice and when that will be paid. You need to do that well before the invoice is due to confirm there's no issues, no disputes, everything matches, everything's right, and the customer is going to pay you at the terms showing on the invoice. Incentives. If you're in a position where you can offer any sort of discounts to be able to collect that cash faster, you might want to consider this. For a lot of small businesses, discounts aren't a huge thing. So, you want to collect every dime that you can. But we're talking about like if you offer a 2% discount, if paid in 10 days, net 30. So if they pay it within the 10 days, you'll give them 2% off. But if they pay it basically 11 through the 30th day, they're not going to get any sort of discount. So most companies, they're either going to pay it early to take that 2% or they're just going to wait and pay you after net 30 or whatever your terms are. Payment options. So this doesn't only mean terms. This could be other avenues of being able to not just take check payments. Do you have the options to be paid by credit card or through ACH or wire? I suggest and try to get all customers and clients to pay via ACH or wire. It's faster. It's more secure. You're not going to be waiting on a check in the mail. Those get lost. That's how there's check fraud. That's how that stuff happens. Let's try to cut that out and avoid that at all. We don't want to do that. Reconciliation. So this should be done monthly. You need to make sure that you are analyzing and reconciling your customer records to your books to make sure everything matches and is in line. If you find a discrepancy, you need to address that as quickly as you can and figure out where you're out and how to rectify that for the current month. Collections policy. Now, this is something I've written for many companies. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, man, I don't have a collections policy in place, or I don't know what steps to really take for my day to day, my month, my quarter, my year, what should my team be doing? I've walked into very big companies, global organizations, and there's not been an actual policy in place, and the team had no clue as to what they should be focusing on each day, each week. So if you walk into a business like that and there's a person that specializes in collections and you say, what's your day to day? Like, what is your process here? And they aren't sure, this is where you need to take a step back, evaluate some things, and then present a policy for that team and for your company. Like I said, I've done this a lot for many big companies. We're talking billion-dollar organizations. So if you need any sort of help in developing this, shoot me a note. I'll be happy to view what you have, make some recommendations and some changes, and take care of you and help you have a great year. Relationship management. So this is another big one too. So you want to have a good relationship with your customers. So that way, when you're reaching out to them and you're asking them to make sure things are paid on time, they're not upset and they respond to you and they want to pay you on time. That's huge. So if you run into a situation like at quarter end or a year end, where most companies, they may tend to hold money at that point, or let's say your customer was told, hey, your AP contact you reach out to, they say we're not making payments until the first of next week, which is the next month or the next year. If you have that relationship with them and you're close to them, you can maybe sway them to go talk to their boss or their controller or whoever it may be that approves the check payments, the cycles, and get a check out the door to you, or an ACH wire payment out to you at the end of the month or at the end of the year versus holding that money. Does it work every time? No. But if you're working and developing these relationships, you have a far better chance of something like this happening. It's happened for me many years where customers that could have $500,000, $1 million plus that is going to be rolling right at the end of a year, reach out and say, yeah, well, our next payment cycle is not until January 10th. And I give someone a call and say, hey, hey, look, we've been helping you this year. We may have worked out a deal with you one quarter to help with a shipment. Who knows what it could be? Kind of return the favor. So develop those relationships and keep growing them and stay in contact with your customers. Also, one thing I like to do as well is occasionally I will send handwritten thank you notes and cards out to some of our larger customers, or depending on the size of your organization, I'll send it to every customer. Just a thank you for their relationship and for them helping you during that year. So analyze and improve. So I would say this is just whenever you want to make sure you're doing your monthly analysis on your receivables, your customers. You need to be checking limits and terms and average days to pay. There's all kinds of things we should be looking at each month when it comes to receivables to make sure you are collecting money on time, lowering your past due, and then also mitigating risk for your business. All right, so that's the end. I hope this was a little long-winded. We're almost 10 minutes into this video, so this is a good one. Hopefully this helps you. And if you have any questions, reach out to me, Brad at GuernseyConsulting.com. You can find us on the web. It's right here on the screen. Here's our website. And then I also write a newsletter once a week, and we cover topics just like this for small business owners and leaders and just about anybody in general that wants to better their finances, or if they're considering opening a business. These are going to be tips that help you out. Hopefully this helps, and we'll see you soon.